My name's Tom. I produce under the name Nukage, and I've been doing that for a while now. When I was a kid, I used to make video games on my computer, and I learned how to record and manipulate sounds on, I forget what the name of it was, like Cool Edit or something like that. And then I was like 16, I started messing around with a program called Mod Tracker, and then I got into FL Studio, making songs for games that my friends would put together, like an RPG Maker and stuff like that. I had a college radio show for about 2 years where I would just play just straight up experimental electronic music, a lot of like Planet Mu records, Warp records. Then I just kind of like kept going with it. I guess that my style's sort of evolved over the years. Originally, it was heavily just based on sampling different sounds, like finding sounds either in songs I liked or just random stuff we would record. I would just leave my voice recorder recording at parties like all night and then go back and find weird stuff that happened and put it in songs. And then in 2010, when electro house and dubstep blew up, all of a sudden it was all about like synths. Everybody was making videos on how to make these certain synth sounds and everything like that. So I got into that. That was another whole like world that kind of opened up for me. So I kind of had the background in sampled music, then adding on top of that all of the synthesized stuff, and then I eventually kind of found, I guess I started to find my sound in melodic dubstep, where I really liked the heaviness of it, and I guess kind of going back to the video game stuff that I'd already been influenced by, and metal was an influence. So I kind of like started noticing all of that and started bringing into that music. I think of live performance like there's 3 different ways that people can perform. There's basically DJing, then there's basically you play an instrument over a track, and then the third way is like almost like live looping, where you're sort of taking loops. In my performance, I really wanted to take the best of all of those types of performances and just sort of use what's appropriate for each particular song. So the main way I play when I play with guitar is I have sections of the songs that are meant to be improvised over. And now as time has gone on, I've actually started writing my music in a way that makes it easier for me to improvise over with guitar. For instance, I noticed that when I was playing those heavy melodic drops with the huge super saws, I realized that those were really, really good to do either like play power chords underneath it or play solos on top of. So then I started leaning more into that when I was writing my own music, because as much as I love the dubstep heavy drops, I couldn't really fit guitar into those. That's something that I kind of discovered over time, just kind of messing around with combining guitar and electronic stuff. So I'm using a touchscreen laptop as my main controller, and I used Max for Live to create a custom control application that allows me to pretty much have exactly what I need to be seeing when I'm performing and nothing else. For instance, it can show me the key of the song I'm in, so I know where to play on the guitar, but I also can have a bunch of buttons set up where I can jump to different tracks at any time. I can also switch which effects are mapped to my controller. I use something called Arsenal for the Ableton Push and from Launchpad, which is a script by Native Control, and that allows me to chop up wave files in real time without having to like pre-chop them or anything. In Ableton, I have just so many different weird things that I've tried over the years, but I'm just trying to combine everything into one set. And so far that's been pretty successful, but a lot of it is trial and error. So I'm kind of all over the place in terms of what I'm doing, but I'm trying to like that set and also my guitar set, those are like the strongest set like versions, and I'm trying to like bring them together so they're one thing and not like one day I'm doing this, the next day I'm doing that. It's a lot harder than it seems. So I run a meetup called the Electronic Music Producers. It's on meetup.com. We're like the largest electronic music recording meetup. The group was just run by a couple friends, and the guy that originally had been getting us together, he moved away and just said, "Hey Tom, do you want to take this thing over?" And me and my friend Steve, we just kind of decided to just keep doing it over and over, and we'll have a get together every single month we have it. We always have new people coming through. It seems like people are looking for that. They actually really need, a lot of times, somebody to tell them about all the things that are going on in New York, because it's kind of hard to get into it unless you know somebody, because there's so many different groups. What I've always found about the New York scene with electronic music is that it seems like all of us are just sort of figuring out on our own, and then we're kind of coming together. So everybody that comes through, they might have a totally different way of performing, and somebody might show up with a modular synth. It's like where you would go to learn to create a performance with a modular synth. So everybody has their own vision of what that would look like. And especially on a night like our open mic, you get to see 13 different performances of totally different styles. I think that's what I've found across the board. In every single group, there's a different kind of emphasis. There's a lot of groups that are more like, they're more into pop production, or they're more into hip hop production, or they're more into EDM, but everybody sort of can still come together and realize that it's all kind of the same thing. Usually we just geek out about, DAWs, or what do you like? People kind of like can always relate to those same like artist struggles. I used to say that our group was sort of like partially a support group. We're just like addicts. We love making music, but we don't have anybody to talk to it about. So we kind of need to like vent and like let loose and kind of just hang out and relax and drink some beers and kind of network. I think that's really the core of what our community is about. It's just like the nature of collaboration. I think that's ultimately why people get out of the house and come to these events, is to find out not only what other people are doing to solve their own problems, but maybe how do we come together and solve each other's problems as well.